Welcome to another edition of the Face Off, and joining me from Winnipeg is the Comish.
Hello.
This week we're going to tackle the comments made by CBC's Ron MaClean during a telecast of the Washington Capitals and New York Rangers series, in which Ron MaClean was comparing the players who are about to take the ice to 911, 911 first responders. As you would probably guess, I am going to be critical of Ron MaClean's comments, and the meek and mild Comish will probably defend the guy.
Meek and mild. I think the fact I'm prepared to defend him means that I'm not meek and mild. You're taking the easy road out, my friend.
Oh. Well, anyway, I basically think the guy is certifiable. And, I don't know if MaClean, it's because he's a Canadian, and I don't want to brandish all Canadians with that brush. But I just don't think he understands what the tragedy meant to Americans and to the United States. And maybe until you have a tragedy that's occurred on home soil, and hopefully that never happens, you would never even venture to compare a bunch of players on the ice who are just in for a fun competition, shooting around a black puck, to first responders, the heroes who died trying to save people, who were toppled by a building because a bunch of terrorists flew into that building. I think it's close to 3,000 people died that day. To even go there, I really do think he should be fired. He's not sane. He should not. CBC has a long tradition of great hockey, of televising great hockey. And it's unfortunate because I think Ron MaClean is generally good at what he does. But that comment, they want to get rid of Don Cherry? Come on. Don Cherry would have never made that comment.
Do you hear that sound?
Trying to ignore it.
That is the sound of you jumping off the Ron MaClean bandwagon.
Maybe I was never on it.
I think you were. I think you used to enjoy his commentary, and as long as he was speaking about your favorite team in a proper manner, you'd be excited to hear him use such references. I will say he might have gone overboard, but I don't think you have to experience the tragedy that was 9/11 to know how awful that day was. And I don't think that's what he was trying to get at. Maybe it was wrong, but you have to know a bit about Ron to be able to even say that he's doing this without any experience or knowing anybody who's gone through 9/11. I was reading an article where Don Cherry defended him. They actually lost a friend in 9/11 who was on the one of the flights. I think it was the flight 175. A guy named Ace Bailey. So he's been touched by the tragedy.
Even more that he should even bring that up. Even more that he shouldn't compare. Even more because he prefaced his comments when his comments were actually comparing the players on the ice to firefighters and first responders, policemen. That's offensive enough, but maybe you could give him a pass. But he prefaced those comments by comparing Washington and New York, the two cities that were inflicted by those terrorist attacks. To me, comparing any professional athlete to the job that firefighters and policemen have to do. Let's even take away the tragedy of 9/11, which became even more than any of these people could have imagined. And let's take the daily job of a New York City or Washington police officer who puts his life on the line every day. Let's compare it to the firefighter in both cities. And they put their lives on the line every day for the public good, to do something good for the public. They're heroes. They're absolute heroes. And as much
Stop it right there. Athletes are looked upon by society, rightly or wrongly, as heroes as well. He's dealing with these people.
Wrong.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's not our argument here. Our argument is, should Ron MaClean have made the comment? Should he have compared those guys to firefighters and policemen? Maybe not, but I don't think he was doing it in a malicious way. And I think that he sees what these hockey players go through on a day-to-day basis. The playoffs are known for their being like a battleground, and these guys are like wounded warriors, regardless of if they're playing for fun or not, or a game that we all love and wish we could play. The fact is, he's with them day in, day out. He sees the grind. And as always, these guys get caught up in the hype of the whole game, and the magnitude to them, because they're in the fishbowl, is greater than maybe you or I who are sitting on the outside looking in, doing our daily jobs and using this hockey game as a release. So,
well, the Commish, I'll say this. I'll even put it this way: unlike you and I, okay, who are getting started on the face-off, and we don't have some big corporation that can edit every comment that we make. What we do today is what's recorded and what goes on the podcast and on the site, okay, and what people hear. We don't have a booth behind us editing our words, right?
But I don't think this was a matter of editing.
Wait. So in some respect, we have to be a little careful. Ron MaClean prepares before he gets on the air. He has editors who prepare before he gets on the air, and he still went on the air to drum up ratings. Okay? That's where I have an issue. The other thing, yes, I'll admit, I'm the first guy who watched Team Canada win 2 gold medals in the past decade, right? I'm the first guy. And you
shed tears. You shed tears of joy.
Tears. I admit I shed tears. I admit that I almost died. I was so happy that I lost my breath. I was cheering so hard. Okay? I admit that. But I know the difference, that those players, win or lose, were not first responders. They were sports heroes, granted, but it's a very different than being a hero, public hero. All right? Somebody who puts their life on the line for the public good deserves the respect of not being compared to somebody who puts a puck behind the goaltender.
The fact is, I'm right, you're wrong. Ron MaClean wasn't doing it in a malicious way like you're trying to make it out to be. I've had enough of this argument. I think we have to let the people decide who's right and who's wrong on this. Good day, good night to you.
All right, well, we'll be back next week. As usual, this guy gets me riled up with the opinions that he seems to have. Visit us next week for another edition of the Face Off, and visit our site at www.sportmentary.com and vote for this week's winner. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody.